What's up, Guardians? Profane here. Thanks for checking out the video. Today we're going to be checking out one of my favorite builds, one of the funnest and most powerful Solar Titan builds currently available. And what's so exciting about this build right now is that in just a few days, it's going to get some massive upgrades. The Pyrogale Gauntlets haven't been in Destiny for all that long, but ever since their introduction, this exotic has transformed and completely flipped the paradigm on what it means to be a Sunbreaker Titan. The Pyrogale Gauntlets comes with the intrinsic trait called Percussive Flames. This works a lot like the Celestial Nighthawk for Golden Gun Hunters. The standard Burning Maul super gets converted into a one-shot overpowered slam. And when this super is performed, that single slam is going to deal out 650% bonus damage. To add to the damage that this one-shot super will deal, you'll also have 3 solar cyclones that are generated. These cyclones will track down nearby enemies, but if there's only one enemy nearby, they'll all 3 converge onto that same target, causing their damage to overlap. These cyclones are going to continuously emit scorch damage to any affected enemy, significantly increasing the damage potential of this super. This exotic offers one additional benefit when using the consecration aspect, as the Pyrogale will create a smaller cyclone when consecration slams are performed. Just like the cyclones created from your super, this cyclone will track down nearby enemies, dealing damage over time and applying scorch damage. And with how we have the rest of our class tree set up, these consecration slams will be overcharged, dealing out insane amounts of damage. And when the new update goes through this week, those consecration slams are going to become significantly more effective. Bungie intends on improving the consistency of those consecration slams by increasing the overall distance and the speed that the thermite waves and the cyclones travel. There will also be an increase to the jump height of the consecration animation and its lunge distance, which should ultimately make this a much more streamlined animation, allowing you to maximize on their damage potential by creating more scorch and ignitions. To go along with the consecration aspect, we are using Roaring Flames, which is going to enhance the damage of any of our solar abilities. Final blows with any solar ability or ignition will give us a stacking damage bonus that maxes out at 3 stacks. This provides a 20% increase to ability damage with 1 stack, 44% with 2 stacks, and 73% with 3 stacks. And since we'll still have the use of our throwing hammer to go along with consecrations, we can easily build up those Roaring Flame stacks to optimize the damage of each consecration slam. Another benefit to utilizing throwing hammers is that after throwing it, we'll gain Cure when picking it up, which can really be of benefit with how the state of damage resistance currently is. When it comes to our choice in fragments, we're going with Ember of Ashes, which is going to double the amount of scorch damage that enemies take, which is going to give our consecration slam and our one-shot super another boost to their overall damage. We've got Ember of Torches, which will grant us Radiance after striking an enemy with a charged melee attack. This will be triggered with our throwing hammer and with our consecration slam. And while active, Radiance will provide all of our weapons with a 20% increase in damage, along with the ability of piercing barrier champion shields. And by using Ember of Searing, when we defeat scorched enemies, we will create a fire sprite along with bonus melee energy. This provides 8% energy on each rank and file enemy, but on high-ranking enemies like champions and bosses, this will provide 25% energy. And each time a fire sprite is collected, we'll receive 12.5% bonus grenade energy. Since we have Roaring Flames active, this could be a really big benefit when using solar or thermite grenades. But to optimize on our survivability, we are currently using healing grenades, which do have a shorter cooldown time. The last fragment that we're using is Ember of Wonder. With the recent changes to orb generation, this will provide you with a great source of continuous orbs, as defeating multiple enemies with ignitions will spawn 1 orb. Alternatively, if you aren't worried about the extra orb generation, then Ember of Char would make a great fragment choice, as it will cause ignitions to spread scorch to nearby enemies. One of the biggest reasons that the Pyrogales is able to deal out as much damage as it does right now is because of the seasonal artifact and several solar-oriented mods. Flint Striker, Kindling Trigger, and Rays of Precision all work in harmony to provide you with radiance, along with more Scorch and Ignitions. We have the Torch mod, which grants 5% bonus damage against enemies who are affected by Stasis or Strand debuffs. We'll talk more about it in depth here soon, but we are using a mixture of Stasis weapons that will slow and freeze enemies, along with Strand weapons that are going to unravel and sever enemies. We also have the Revitalizing Blast mod, so whenever we strike champions or bosses with any of our solar abilities, they'll become weakened, taking an additional 15% damage for 6 seconds. Heart of the Flame will give us bonus super damage when we are in a team, but when we're solo operative will give us a 15% bonus to all weapon and ability damage. We've also got From Whence It Came to give us more damage against taken and scorn enemies, and when we are using rocket launchers, then Argent Ordnance will give us bonus damage to those rockets, as long as we have armor charges active. With these artifact mods, in combination with our class tree and the Pyrogale, we'll be unleashing devastating levels of damage against any enemy, champion, or boss. And when it comes to our armor and armor mods, our main goal is to improve the uptime of our Consecration Slam and to create orbs. Orbs will provide us with several benefits. They'll give us armor charges, and when they're collected, they'll provide us with health and melee energy, thanks to the use of the Recuperation and Invigoration Boots mods. Those armor charges will be useful in order to fuel melee kickstart, so that we can generate bonus melee energy. And since we're using stacks on stacks, along with charged up, we'll be able to get as much as 37% energy restored. To generate these orbs, we are using Helmet Siphon mods, the Heavy-Handed Gloves mod, and the Reaper class item mod. And to give us a little bit extra melee energy, we are using Outreach mods on our class item. With the use of 2, we'll gain 17% melee energy after casting our Barricade whenever we're near enemies. When it comes to our armor stats, Resilience and Recovery are 2 of the most important character stats to focus on when jumping into in-game level content, as these will reduce the overall damage that you take, and they'll improve how quickly you regain health. But otherwise, since we want to maximize the uptime of our Consecration Slam, we'll want to focus as much into strength as we can. As I mentioned earlier, Strand and Stasis weapons will play a significant role towards the success of this build, and my go-to Strand and Stasis options so far this season to go along with the Pyrogale have typically gravitated towards the Scatter Signal or the Riptide fusion rifles, but there's also the Cold Comfort rocket launcher, which will work out great with this build when it has Chill Clip. And there's just no way that I could leave out the Conditional Finality, since it gives us the ability of freezing and igniting targets. The Sword of Crota is a terrific legendary Strand shotgun that synergizes very well with this build, especially when it has Pugilist and 1-2 punch. And when we look at the best solar weapons to pair up with the Pyrogale, pretty much any legendary weapon that comes with Incandescent, Dragonfly, or Firefly is going to be very strong. In terms of exotics though, the Polaris Lance, the Sunshot, Skyburner's Oath, or the Dragon's Breath will all be a sure bet with this build. But there is one other exotic that has a tremendous level of synergy with this Pyrogale build, and that is the Monte Carlo Auto Rifle. There's not another weapon out there that's going to provide as much melee energy as this exotic will, which is going to significantly improve the uptime of your Consecration Slams. And when you have the Catalyst unlocked, you're also getting all that extra damage out of its bayonet. To go along with all the benefits that these aforementioned weapons offer, we are in store for a number of new weapons that will provide some interesting benefits of their own, including a new Strand grenade launcher that will be available through Iron Banner, and it's called the Tusk of the Boar, and there's the possibility that this grenade launcher will come with Slice. We're also getting a revised version of the Summoner Solar Auto Rifle, and the Wild Style Solar Waveframe Grenade Launcher will now be available as a Nightfall reward. I expect these weapons to make a pretty significant impact on the current sandbox, and should make an equally impactful presence when used with this Pyrogale build, to go along with the improvements that those Consecration Slams will be getting. And with that said, we've come full circle on this extraordinary Solar Titan build, featuring the amazing Pyrogale Gauntlets. I'd love to hear your thoughts about the Pyrogale, all the upcoming changes, and all the new weapons, so let me know what you think down in the comments below. I will leave a Destiny item manager link, so if you need to make a quick copy of today's build, you can easily do so. Thank you as always for checking out the video. If you enjoyed and found it helpful, then be sure to hit that like button below, along with the subscribe button if you're new. Both are greatly appreciated, and both really do help support the channel. If you're a new Light Guardian, just starting your journey, or a battle-hardened veteran, just looking for a new home, then be sure to check out the Discord link in the description below and join one of the greatest communities in all of Destiny. And until next time, Guardians, this has been Profane, wishing you all some happy hunting.